Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases.
Hello, everyone. Glad you're able to join us tonight. Got a lot going on today. I went on Chris's show earlier, and he's absolutely overjoyed that we're all going to be going out to Texas, and I get to meet him for the first time. And but I had so much equipment coming in today because after we finish with our trip to Texas, we got some other things that he'll be going on another trip. Before we get in that, though, as always, if you're new to the channel, absolutely, we are glad you're here. You're welcome to be here and interact with our community, and always be mindful to be respectful of the mods, families, and each other. And at some point, we will divert this true crime web on the Morning Watch to pretty much what each and everyone likes at Waffle House. Or it will have some mixture of Waffle House handcuffs or menu items. That's generally where we head with this stuff. But glad everyone's here. And if we have any questions about anything from any of the cases we've looked at from my law enforcement career and to anything y'all would like to know about what we're going to be doing in Texas and the equipment we bought for not only this case that we're going to be bringing into Texas, but also Chris is going to be roughing it. I think his search for Aiden Clune starts like the next week after that. So he's going to be on the road for a couple of weeks, which is absolutely amazing. And I may join him out there. It just depends how well everything goes. And with Mrs. Steve here minding the fort here in Georgia, and if I can get to go out there with Aiden and them, because that is an interesting case as far as Aiden. I'm one of those that personally thinks that Aiden is still alive and made it and did a lot of things to evade law enforcement and to go off the grid. But that's just my 2 cents. And of course, the mother and them, they have hopes that is the case for the fact that they go to these homeless camps and everything. And I hope that is the case. But anyway, let's go in the chat and see who's here tonight. And we'll talk about anything y'all got. Let's see here. Hello, Miranda. Good to see you. There's Lane. Good to see you. Jocelyn, Night Owls. The Waffle House Night Owls. If we had a university or a basketball team, that's what it would be called. the Waffle House Night Owls. Let's see here. If I can get my Google machine to work here right now. All right. There's Betsy. Good to see you. Pigeon Mac. Good to see you. Oh, and also everybody, let's remember Molly. She's sick currently, and let's thoughts and prayers that she gets to feeling better soon, because I don't like it when she's sick. And Debbie, it's good to see you again. We had a really good day. Other than yesterday while eating, I broke a tooth, and then I was last night didn't sleep well because I hadn't heard back from the family in Texas, and so I got up this morning and had to deal with a broken tooth, and which I've got all my filling back now, and so they had to go in and extract a tooth. I had a little bit of dental. I don't think it's surgery; it's whatever they go in there and make sure everything's out. But we got that fixed. There's Dave. Hello. Now Dave goes with wafflers. Oh, look at here. Ty's Kitchen. I'm awake. It's my birthday, and I love Mr. and Mrs. Steve. Well, Ty, I absolutely appreciate you being here on your birthday, and it's great to have you here. That made my day. Yes, Pigeon Mac. Aiden is, some of the things that he did while he was evading and had left the vehicle um, leads you to believe that he was trying to evade and just go off the grid for whatever reason. And there's a lot of people that do that. I've dealt with um, a lot of the homeless, and you can have certain issues mentally and everything, and these people will just turn their back on everything they know in society and go off on their own. And I've seen quite a few of those. And of course, the families worry about them forever. Miracle Hearts, good to see you. Triple S. There was some, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I saw today on some of the other cases, just off the top of my head as I ramble around here, um, that the issue with Kohlberger and uh, the BF as the witness has been issued or has been, worked out so that they're going to have some type of interview. A deposition type of situation so that she won't. But although, even if they do that, if they still want that information put in, and unless the prosecution um, allows it in, they will still have to have her there. But maybe they will allow it in or not. Or it's just, like I said, looking at a lot of things last night, I think it's just like everything, a nothing burger, that just something that the prosecution is uh, I mean, not prosecution, but the defense is doing what defenses do, muddy the water. Dwayne's prospecting. Good to see you here. Sitting quietly playing the game. Uh-oh. Triple S. Jocelyn is all happy about the Waffle House night owls. Could you see that all the great athletes in the world during their training and everything, what they have to eat, and our team would only get to choose things from the Waffle House menu. That would get you absolutely nowhere, I think. Oh, okay. True crime. Does the FBI have a record of those bones and things turned in on the Abercrombie case from the 1990s? I can't believe that's a coincidence. Um, Not that I know of. I've researched and I can't find anything from it. When I'm out there, I'll see if there's. We have contact with some of the cold case investigators that worked the Crumb case, so we're going to try to find out from some of them. Are they aware of that situation, and what did it test out to be? Because it may well just be that the bones were evaluated and they turned out not to be human. It could have been some type of pet. Um, and the reason I say this, while it is interesting that the blanket was a child's blanket, um, but that the son of the current property owners was playing in the yard and was digging in a certain spot. So something drug it, something put his attention on a certain spot in the yard, and he dug it, and that's when he found the blanket and bones. So it had to be very shallow, which it also could be that absolutely it is something that we're going to look at. And the property owner has agreed to show us that location. And so the testing of that area will be extremely easy to do and rather quickly. And if there's a large, uh, you know, when you say large, it's it's relevant to that. How big of a spot would it take to bury a child? Which it wouldn't be very big, but we'll see where that location is and see how much disturbed earth is there. Tooth pain is absolute worst. It wasn't so bad at on the tooth pain. Like I said, I got a very high pain tolerance, but when it broke, I said, "Ouch!" And then this morning, I decided. I said, "Well, I can't go to Texas with a broken tooth," so I went to the dentist and put myself at the mercy of a dentist, which is always a good thing to do. Right before you go, anytime you plan a vacation or something, always go to the dentist because everything will be better after that. Uh-oh, we got somebody here that uh, donated here in a second. As soon as I get down there to them, I will recognize them there. Jennifer Rochelle. Yes, Mrs. Steve wasn't. And, when she looked at it, she says, "Oh, that's going to come out." And once again, Mrs. Steve knows that when she knows best. Dave is driving. Thank you. Be careful, Dave. I thought you would be packing, Steve. I've done more packing. This is going to be odd, but for the last, we ordered all the camping gear that will allow us to be on the road, such as where Chris is going to be in 2 weeks, um, and where you can camp out and do it with all the safety gear so that we don't become, because Chris is going to be with a group. But some of the places when I join Chris and some of the other cases that we look at, such as Dior, that when we go look for Dior, it will probably just be Chris, and I've got some plans about some special people I want to go with us. Still working on that. But and so we'll have all that equipment, and we bought this equipment so that it's good equipment. We can use it over and over again as we go to these very remote areas. And we don't want, like I said, we don't want the story to be where's Chris and Steve, and or Chris and Steve. Well, let's see, or Chris got ate by a bear, because you know I'm I'm dead set against getting eaten by a bear. And Southern Gal True Crime for coffee and Waffle House on your trip. Absolutely, thank you. Um, and I'm gonna be leaving. Um, it won't take me long. I've got to go pick up my car. I'm not going to drive my personal vehicle on this trip. I'm gonna go get a rental vehicle because I've got so much equipment to carry to transfer over to Chris. And then, which I, by the way, I want to thank everybody that has supported this channel, either by memberships or by PayPal's or by super chats or by the foundation, because we're doing excellent. We're well funded right now, and we're able to go out there and do those things. And it's absolutely amazing. And I want to thank everybody that has done this and continues to do this, because we got a busy schedule. Mrs. Steve really has, Amber Crum has always had Mrs. Steve's heart as far as trying to find that little girl. But then it's Dior is the one right after that. Let's see here. What's going on? Jennifer is saying like, absolutely. Nightbot's up and running well, I hope. Oh, man. Now every time I say a Waffle House, I think of something. I noticed the names that start with M ask more questions, like Molly and Miranda. That's funny. Oh gosh, I haven't checked in a while, but did OJ find the real? sure yet. That's oh man. I don't think he's going to find him unless he goes to Florida. Um, and he's in Florida somewhere. I can't remember exactly where, but he's down there. Miranda says, "True crime. What if Amber's bones were there, but they were turned into the FBI and lost in the 90s? Can you still tell in the backyard?" Yes, the disturbed earth will be there, or so my scientist tells me. And so if there, and the possibility now, if the blanket was totally wrapped around and it was still good enough to hold all the bones and all everything, there are other things that happen during decomposition that will leak into the soil, and so there would be a possibility of those types of minerals and oils and things to still be in that mixed in that earth there at the bottom of it where it would form a pan. And I'm hoping that if we ever come across anything that has been disturbed or partially disturbed, that modern forensics will be able to go in there and determine that. Good question, though. You guys better take care in Texas. I don't have to come down there now. Absolutely, and I look forward. I need to come up there, and I may make a plan to come up there. I know you have a case that you working that you like, and I need to familiarize myself with it extremely well, and come up there. That's very nice of you to say, Ty. All law enforcement isn't corrupt. I see your soul, Mr. C. And uh, not just for me, but there are some really great officers out there. Um, and I was honored to work with them. I worked with some very, very tough men. We were a large county, but a very small department. As far as, like I said, when I first started, when my father started working in the 60s in this county, um, he was, basically the only one out there on the road at night. And and then they had a jailer. And when I started, I was the only jailer, and this was in the 80s. And when I went on the road, and we're talking 20 years later, that in the 60s, they had one officer on the road for almost 500 square miles to having three of us on the road. Now, one of them was a supervisor. And some of the supervisors in law enforcement, they really um, almost like a desk sergeant. To be working third and older and retired. So there's really just one of us that worked north zone, one worked the south, which divided our square mileage down to 200 and something square miles. So which is a little bit more manageable. You 10 miles by 20. Right 10 miles, right 20 miles, one direction, because our county is like 20 miles across. But it that does lead to exciting times. Yeah, Betsy, I don't know what it is about getting ready for a trip and just something happens. And like I said, I thought about, can I wait until I get back, because I didn't know. But hopefully everything will work out and I'll be able to at least. And I think, and that's going to be the truth, that I may be eating more Waffle House on this trip than any other time I've ever been, for the fact that waffles are a very easy thing to chew. And so I'll have that uh, where they took out the rest of that tooth that's kind of tender, or will be tender, I guess, for a few days. Austin Christian, don't worry about being late. You're not late. I'm early. You just don't want Ruckus in LA covering your missing person story. That is priceless. Actually, I have spoken to Ruckus. And I've also spoken to LA about a couple of cases, but especially Ruckus. I really want to, because Ruckus is, just one state away from me, and he's in Florida, and there's a lot of things going on there. And I have, hopefully, at some point, we get to work together. And he had some surgery, and so he's still recovering. And when he gets fully recovered, he said that he will go on the road with me on a couple of cases, and I'm looking forward to that because um, some of these cases, and you have to look at that. Let's say Austin there is a serial killer down there, and you're going in there, and there is a potential of some type of encounter. Because as you go into certain areas looking for certain things, and which isn't a real big deal, or even with Evansdale, that when you go to those locations and you're out there, like where uh, Lyric and Elizabeth was found, you're 20, miles from the closest large city, and there's, the whole time I was up there in um, in Iowa, in that county, looking for um, or doing my work as far as the drone. You're in an area of the county. It's, there's not a house for a half a mile or a mile, and I never saw law enforcement. So there is certain dangers you have to be careful of. Not so much from the bad guys. I really never really feared the bad guys, but from animals and snakes. But if you if you are getting close on anything, because I have no doubt at some point as we move forward, we're going to become relatively close to the offenders that's responsible for Lyric and Elizabeth. At least that's what we're working towards. And to find them, you have to work until you get close to them. And so there is certain things that we have to take caution with. Oh, Jill. Thank you, Jill. Thank you. Appreciate your support. Um, Triple S, Nightbot tells you about the blue light now. Is that new? I don't know. I hadn't read it. If it is, Jennifer, I would do that. But yes, that's incredible if it's in there. Thank you. Yeah, look at this. We've typed blue and it prompts the prompt I've written. Excellent. Ah, man, if it wasn't for our mods and Jennifer and all of them, is absolutely my Google machine days would probably be limited. Uh, but they absolutely are uh, the backbone of this. Grismatically clever. Good to see you. OJ needs to. Yes, I would agree with you there, Ty. Uh, um, yes, I did miss your question about Missy Beavers. Um, put it in again if you don't mind, please. I'm sorry I missed it because it's so far back now. I would never be able to find it. I don't think so. I'm sorry I missed it. Yeah, just put it in again, and I'll try not to miss it again. If we find something in Texas, what happens after that? I don't know how fast the return of the information from the analysis of the scientists will be. I don't know if it's like watching TV and you see this grave pop in or any of the other materials that could be in the grave. I have no idea. And I don't know if it's something that we go and we collect all this information and they take it and put it in a big old Google machine, levers are flipped and filters are uh, do their things, and then it spits out this chart. I have no idea, but and hopefully, if there's anything that the scientist notes, then of course we'll make that call to the co-case unit that's handling the case and turn everything over to them. Oh, yes, that's exactly what I'm gonna tell Chris, that, if, that we're attacked by a bear, um, uh, punch it, and, I don't know if I'm gonna tell him to hold its front paws. Punch it and hold its front paws. Alright, so I got one of them answered anyway. Thank you, Jennifer. Oh, here we go. True Crime Web, on the Missy Beaver suspect, did you see how they hold their left knee? They have a unique walk and, body, habitus. The more I watch it, I think it is an awkward male. There are certain times during it um, that you think from the lower extremities of, that, it has male type, physique. And I do, you know, and generally, when I look at a lot of these things, I just play the numbers. Far more homicides and people being out at this time of night and doing crimes is done by males. Um, it's not typically done by females. Not saying it can't be, but and it usually is a dominant male uh, in the profiling world. That if you're not working but you are married, and you're off, say that, um, take Mrs. Steve and I, that here it is midnight, and if I wanted to be somewheres and commit a crime, um, Mrs. Steve would ask, "Where are you going?" and how long will you be gone, and everything. As far as the dominating males, a lot of times they'll just tell their wife to absolutely just none of your business or things. Of course, I would never do that to Mrs. Steve because I'd be sleeping on Dave's couch, and we'd be ordering Waffle House. But some of these individuals, for that to occur, and is that it has to be a dominant male that's either single or a male that is dominant within the household, so that he is not missed at work and he's not missed at home, and he's able to go out and commit a crime. Because the time to put on clothes and go out at the time that Mr. Beavers was is something that you're not going to get past a loving relationship. Uh, think about it. If you were at home and your husband got up at uh, 4 o'clock in the morning and left, you'd know it. And you would know it the same if it was your wife. If she got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and left, you would know it. And this is a great question, not for me, but for Dave. How much do you drive a day? I mean, he drives all the time. Male or female in Mr. Beaver's case? Why? I'm psychic. I answered that prior to mathematically, and due to more than likely has to be dominant. Chunk, covered, smother should be easy. Yes, I agree with you. If I ain't mistaken, it was something like 5'8" or something, or it was within that spectrum. Um, and yes, there's a way to tell because we have the individual that's so close to those doorways and those walls and that blocks, and absolutely they should be able to get within a couple inches of them. Um, just join. What's the conversation tonight? Tonight, like I said, I'm getting ready to go to Texas, so I didn't do a lot of research. I'm so busy getting everything. Um, a nightmare today that I learned is trying to book rooms in Dallas, Texas. Um, and you call, and they have some type of weird answering service for these motels that puts you with somebody that's off site. And then, of course, um, uh, they want to know. which motel or hotel you're talking about that you want the rent from. And I called a motel or hotel with a specific address, and I have to relay that information, so I know it's not their front desk. And so I found that quite amazing. So we had to go to Plan B on that. Keep setting the kitchen on fire, and Mrs. Steve might be fix all your tea. If I had, I meant to bring the coffee make jar down tonight to show you the burn marks on it. I knew what you meant when you spelled out chucked. I knew you meant chunked. Yes. Have you ever heard of Deora Coon's case? A little boy. Yes. Actually, that's another case that we're looking closely at. And I know the sheriff, they do annual searches on it. And I've got to contact them, see if they need any equipment they haven't had and see if it's within our budget. And if it is, absolutely, I'll get that to them. But if not, we're looking at going in there. And that was some of the equipment that we bought is so that we can go to Timber Creek campgrounds and look at certain information that we want to look at and possibilities. Tomatoes. Steve, you ever really stared a serial killer in the eye and thought about what makes them tick? I've talked to a lot of serial offenders, and I believe I know at least one serial offender um, for this fact. He's been at the last person to talk to at least um, I think it's 6 people that ended their demise by self-inflicted injuries in several different ways. But he was the last person either seen leaving their home prior to their discovery, or was seen with them um, in a area where they were found. And he's still out there, and I know him, and absolutely have no use for him. But now I have talked to other people that I thought were serial offenders also that had committed several homicides. Um, and, like one I've told before about the guy that told me about that he was on parole out of Florida, where we had to arrest him. And as we was going to take him back to jail to ship him back to Florida, I asked him, I said, what you paroled for? And he said, homicide. And I said, who was the victim? And he said, some woman that knocked on my door. And I said, you just decided to kill a woman that knocked on your door, a perfect stranger? And he said, oh no, I talked to her for 2 hours or so. And so when you talk to people like that, they have the potential to have multiple victims. And Barry, yeah, have you ever stared someone in the eyes and you didn't know? Absolutely. We probably all have, because you're going to run across. There's some stat out there that you run across those people. And now I've answered calls of where people stayed together and eventually one of them was the victim of the other. Um, and I often thought that this isn't going to end well. That someone in this relationship is going to get hurt and hurt bad. And sometimes it happens. Lorianne, does that phone actually ring? No, but I'm gonna wire it up and put it on the our landline and see if it will, because I'm curious about that myself. It should. I don't know why it wouldn't. They built them a lot better back then. Is Nightbot a person? No, Nightbot is this entity that Jennifer Rochelle absolutely controls. Yeah, she said and it's correct. It's me in computer form. Absolutely. And Dave says, hope Molly is okay. Absolutely. My hometown is a suburb north of Austin. I believe it's a serial offender. We're presently stationed in Georgia by Fort Stewart. Oh, excellent. Send me an email sometime. If I'm down near Fort Stewart, I appreciate y'all's service, and I will absolutely take you to a Waffle House. Now, isn't that a treat? You'd be, you get taken to a Waffle House. Yeah, if you want to see it in action, yeah, I saw that earlier today, and I will uh, check out their channel because I'm curious with our geophysicist how it will work. Do you ever Freedom? I have some private investigators that Freedom of Information Act for records of your case. I typically I have some private investigators that anytime I want something, um, they do all that stuff for us. Absolutely, and I don't have to do it myself. So yes. I'm glad I didn't volunteer to go this time. Oh no, man! Don't ever. I'm looking forward to it for you. This is interesting. The Mississippi Beaver suspect stands with feet in positions males are unlikely to use. You know, I know the walk is extremely odd, and I am curious about that. Um, with a feet stance like that, that is an odd. You know, um, I've seen and I've worked with people that had duck walks like that, and actually, I think there's some type of condition mentally that people have that causes some of that. Um, and I've got to get with Dr. Susan about that and see what she thinks. But the uh, in chat about those feet positions, what do y'all think, male or female? I have actually, I think this is the second or third time in the last few days that they stand like a dancer with feet turned out, like I do. Um, and I know that some dancers do that, but do you walk like that also? I mean, I don't because I can tell you right now, I am not a trained dancer. I'm not a dancer, but that is an interesting perspective. True crime web to me, the Missy Beaver's perp walks like someone who spends a lot of time on concrete. Let's see here. Miranda, it looks to me that the suspect may have had some dance training at one time. I wonder if that person had done dancer size or something. Maybe knew Missy professionally. Interesting. And maybe the spouse works nights, so she wouldn't be there to know. And that is possible. That some people do work different shifts, and one spouse will be away from the home, and you would have those windows of opportunity. Um, JJ says, "I think it was a jealous woman." Oh man, I missed Steve burning the house down. What happened? Um, it really was just a stove. I, I Mrs. Steve and I went grocery shopping, and I was helping unload the groceries, and I took several bags, as I normally do, and just throw on the counters or otherwise, and I throwed 4 or 5 bags onto the stovetop. And in one of the bags, evidently, there was something that had enough surface area and hit the knob right, that it turned on one of the eyes on high. And I was able to burn up 1 bag of Mrs. Steve's groceries. And the rest is history. And Triple S says that a woman, for Missy Beavers, it would have been with a gun, like the clown killed her, or Jody Beneficio's teen victim tried to end his. Absolutely possible. Isla Garza, thank you for becoming a member. We appreciate your support. Let's see here. I can get caught up. Oh my goodness. We still use those phones where I work. Oh my goodness. That's funny. See here. Um, I have to use a phone like that because I have a Wi-Fi dependent analog system. That phone on the screen won't work with a digital system unless a change is made in the cable. Like I said, I don't know anything about that. I've got a friend that works for them, or for our carrier. So I'm going to see if he can get it to work, because I'm not going to hook it up, because you know what's going to happen if I hook it up. And I don't know if you've ever been handling phone lines when someone calls in. It will light your world up. Hey, hi, Molly is listening. I'll be okay. Just zoned out and bored, being well taken care of. Safe travel, Steve and Chris. Hopefully back to normal in a few days. Absolutely. I'm glad you checked in with us. Made my day. Steve, I've heard Paul Hose is working for the defense in Delphi. Have you heard that? No, but I'm going to look that up. I have not heard that. Dwayne said he don't want to go. Not if you're going to throw Chris to the Bears. I'm not going to throw Chris to the Bears. I'm going to instruct Chris of all the bear defense rules that Dave has shared with me, um, and uh, and I'll take notes and report back. Okay, so we got female, 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 female. Then we got male, male, female. So most definitely everybody is going with, um, or the majority is going with female. I've got to pay more attention to that. I Yes, dancers typically walk that way. We are always turned out. Mrs. Steve is an excellent dancer, but I've I've never seen her walk that way. Um, but now she isn't formally trained or anything like that. But I just I find that so amazing. And who am I to argue with trained dancers, female dancers, I may have to absolutely change my opinion now because, like I said, I know nothing of that. Laura Ann, $5. Guys, sleep. I always vouch for Perry Copfax, who sent me here to you, Steve. You're individuals of high integrity, and you're right. I absolutely love Copfax, and y'all check him out. And I'm sure there's no one here that doesn't know about Copfax. But and I haven't talked to him in a couple 3 months. And I need to get back in touch with him because I want him to meet with me up in Iowa, and we had discussed that before. I want to take him and get his opinion about some things up there. Um, you know nothing about the Missy Beavers. Where can you watch the feet positions? You can go on YouTube and type in Missy Beavers uh, church video, and you'll see a individual dressed in some type of law enforcement gear. It has police on it, and you can watch them walk through the halls. How are your investigations funded? Do you work with other retired police in your investigations? Um, I have a panel of former officers I work with and other professionals in many different fields, from private to some of the behavioral um, um, uh, analysis type of people. But uh, the funding is through the people that support my channel, either through chat or through the donations through PayPal, and the lines portion of it is through the True Crime Web Foundation, which I have some really good people that support me on that, and some of them do not wish to be recognized, and they know who they are and that they're the backbone of this foundation, the True Crime Web Foundation, and without them, of course, we wouldn't be able to buy the equipment, wouldn't be able to travel to a lot of these places, and because it's absolutely important, and we want to have an impact. We want to be just as impactful as what Adventure with a Purpose was, and all the things they did. And as we move forward and we get more equipment, we'll be just as effective, hopefully, and have a great impact. Just a matter of time. And we owe it all to our community and everyone out there that supports this channel. It's, and I never realized that we would be doing this. Like I said, I only wanted to be an ambassador for law enforcement. And then when the family started contacting me, it turned my life around. Yeah, figure skaters do the turnout too. Like I said, that tells you how much of the dance arts I pay attention to. Oh, many years ago, I was a ballet trained Ukrainian dancer. Oh my goodness, that's a story about Ukrainian. Do you have family there? That'd be a great story to hear about. Um, but I guess you could be trained by a Ukrainian dancer. So I don't know if you're actually Ukrainian or not, but that is a very interesting story. Um, uh, it's about it's about more than turned out feet. The suspect places his or her feet in odd positions. Like I said, I know nothing about that, so y'all put me on a new path. I'm tell you where I'm gonna go. When I get back from Texas, I'm going to turn on the ballet YouTube channel, and I'm gonna watch these people, and um, and take it to heart and look at that, see what the similarities are. That'd be interesting. Um, maybe it was like BTK and installed alarms for a living. Maybe they should check and see who was the alarm provider in that area. And that is interesting. And you're correct about BTK. I actually had a friend one time who is now passed, but he worked in Wichita for a major company of a alarm system supplier, and he did a lot of training there. And they trained all the security agencies, including the one that that BTK worked for. So he said, just like that question earlier, how many people do you think that you may have spoke to in your life that was committed a homicide or was a serial offender? And my friend said that he had no doubt that he talked to BTK many years ago. There's Brandy Churchwell. Sorry I'm late. Just finished up my show. Well, Brandy, I'm glad you're here. And for anyone here that doesn't know Brandy, she has a new channel, and she's moving along. And her graphics are absolutely superb. I wish I had her doing my graphics and my slideshows because it would take it up several notches. There are two male suspects who have that same bizarre gait. I really don't think it was a woman. I For whatever reason, I don't either, but I'm gonna have to go watch the. I'm gonna become, let's see, civilized. Um, I don't know how many ballet shows it takes for me to become civilized, but Mrs. Steve, uh, uh, it will surprise her because I'll let her walk in on me as I watch ballet dancing. Oh, that'd be great. She'll appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I always listen to my friends when they tell me, "Yes, just plug it in. See what could go wrong." Oh, you're right. There's nothing like slamming a phone to get attention from your coworkers. Ruckus, you were being talked about earlier. Was your was your head tingling or your ears ringing? Bessie, you don't have to throw him, just trip, Chris. Yeah, there's several good jokes about when the bears come, and I wish I was going with. I wish you was too. I think we'd have some interesting times, especially in Austin. There's a lot of potential in Austin that we could do, but I wish he was going also. Steve, I think Missy Beaver's killer is smaller than they appear in that outfit. It's very possible. I don't know um, uh, that hat or the helmet, of course, would add an inch or two, but you can deduct that by the averages. But um, I would like to get in there and measure from certain areas. And that said that Anna Lizette said that when the tech saw her old phone, he freaked out. Well, I hate that by turning on the stove. Um, my mother-in-law, who's elderly, she in her you can ask Mrs. Steve at times. I think she had several kitchen fires throughout her life. Wonderful cook, but she does have a issue about that. Once the eye's on, eye stays on. But great cook. Once again, starts with 5-foot positions, all of which have feet turned out to some degree. I'm gonna learn that. Y'all, just a few weeks, you're gonna be able to ask me um, um, a couple of those terms. Yeah, Ruckus, this is and that if Chris and I come up missing, we don't want Ruckus or LA trying to solve it. Look up the video of kids these days trying to figure out how to use a rotary phone. Uh, Absolutely. This is interesting. The only other person I've seen walk that way was my ex. He walked with a turned out foot because it helped with balance on rolling seas. He was in the Coast Guard. Hello, Melissa. Let's see what we got going on here. Pigeon Mac, I hope that is the case. You know, with some of the equipment that we have scheduled in the future, especially with the water searches and some of the technologies they have and some of the higher end equipment, um, I believe that absolutely we will have an impact on some of those cases. Um, the serial offenders are going to be a little bit harder, although I have hope with the biggest hope I have on any of the serial offenders or some of the cases I looked at that, of course, is Evansdale. Um, Ken Maines had a good theory. I have watched his about the Beavers case, but I'll go look at it. I like Ken. He's interesting to listen to. I don't believe there's anything more truthful than this. Dancers are usually graceful, and they are. Um, and when you have seen some of the training I did in law enforcement and some of the mishaps, um, there was a lot of times there's not very much that's graceful about any type of dynamic entry of entering a house if you're kicking a door. I've seen officers go up there and kick the door and fall off the porch and things of that nature. So a lot of police officers aren't really graceful. I met one or two, but typically they're not. I've never reached out to Ken Maines. I guess I need to if I'm ever. I don't even know where he's based out of, but I need to meet with him at some point. I don't know if he does any of the what is it, Crime Con or whatever. And we haven't decided if we're going to do any of that ourselves. Been so busy. Virginia, thanks, Steve. I'll be giving your foundation donation. Absolutely, thank you. Appreciate that. It does have a great impact. And this is a really good question, Steve. Do you think Missy's was being stalked, and the offender had stalked her for a while, unbeknownst to Missy? and this is the case for a lot of people out there that are fall victim to homicides, because it was even um, spoke about with the Kohlberger and the Idaho of one of the victims felt that they were being stalked, and it is absolutely possible. And I've known victims that were stalked and did fall victim to that uh, offender, whether it be an old boyfriend or ex-husband or someone that just unfortunately I saw a offender one time that just would stalk people in parking lots, and finally he executed one of them in a parking lot, and they never knew. All they were doing was pushing a shopping cart with their groceries in it, and they never knew that offender was stalking them. The witnesses saw it of him following her, and then when he executed her. So there's a lot of things, and we don't know how long he had stalked her, and and decided at that point to execute. But there's a lot of people out there that never realize they're being put in a position by such an offender. So if you ever do have that feeling, that intuition, make sure someone knows. Brandy says, "I'd be happy to help out on graphics anytime, Steve. Thank you." Now, this is probably the most outlandish comment that's ever been put on Steve's channel. You could have a second career as a ballet dancer, Steve. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I bet uh, Ruckus is quite the ballet dancer. That's who I'm going with. I mean, you can look at Ruckus and see he is a high speed, low drag type of fella. Need to see if his feet turn out. Man, this is amazing. We got so many professional people that have dance and ballets and um, all that. Mm. Someone used a computer program to calculate the body underneath the police uniform in the Beavers case. That effort showed a small, thin person who looked more male. Now, the lower legs, to me, is one of the things that I looked at that I thought was more male as far as the size of the calves and things. And then I say that and think about my grandmother's calves. She was a big woman. Um, Worked in the fields her whole life and big boned. In the South, we call them big boned. And she most certainly was. Just curious, why do you call it an eye? I've never heard it called that before. I just call it the burner. I don't know. That's what we've always referred to it as my whole life. Stove eye. I'm gonna look that up and see if that's an official term or not. You've got me curious now, but my whole life that's what we've always referred to it as stove eye. And a lot of people have mentioned that the clothes on the person in Mississippi Beavers just don't fit. About the boots the suspect wore or his or her vehicle. Now, the feet look extremely large, and the boots do, but are they? I don't really know, but they do seem proportionally out of character for that statue of a person. BJK, good to see you. Yes, I've looked you up in the dictionary, and yes, your picture's right there, right behind graceful. Yes, it is. Yes, yes, um, yeah. I just heard about Tom Webster a few minutes ago about his Missy Beavers video, and I'll have to give you this that Brandon contacted me after I did a show on Missy, and he did recommend that if you wanted the some of the most accurate or the ones that had the most information that needed to be disseminated was Tom Webster was one of the creators, and the other one was Gumshoe Diaries, and I'm doing that because Brandon sent me the email and told me of that information, and if that's the information that he thinks needs to be out there, I'm all for it. You would think so. Almost positive IT can trace the IP address of anyone who visited the site, what time, rain or shine, her class was taking place. You would think so. And this is something that Dave and I absolutely agree on. I think that case in Delphi, Richard Allen was stalking witness number 4. And at some point, I believe he was that day. Now, was he also waiting on the Libby and Abby to show up? It's possible. But I do believe that at one point, from where he parked his vehicle away from any parking area so he wouldn't have to come back to it, that he may have um, had ideas about um, taking someone hostage in a vehicle and transporting them somewhere else, and either refocus back on his original targets. He knew Abby and Libby was coming, or um, just decided to switch victims. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. It's going to be the Ruckus and Steve Ballet, and we'll have to come up with a good um, dance routine. It'll have something to do with the thin blue line, I'm sure. Pigeon Mac, you got big boned. Yeah, yeah. We say big bone. I didn't know that her father was a cop, and did not know that. And Triple S, that's all what, also what I've known burners to be called too. Hello, Carolyn. Good to see you. Um, is this the Carolyn that's going to be meeting us in Texas? If so, this is our scientist right here. Absolutely going to be an important part of the case. Glad you're here. If that's not Carolyn S., then I apologize. And because people are going to be asking you a lot of questions in the future. No, we're going there for Abercrombie, but we're only going to be a few miles from where Missy Beaver's homicide occurred. The Delphi witnesses seem to have been leaving the area. That would give the offender the idea they were expected somewhere else. Plus, weren't all the witnesses in groups? Witness number 4 was on the trail solo. She's the one that when Richard Allen was on platform 1 on the bridge, that she walked to the end of the bridge, looked at him, turned around, walked back, and within a few hundred feet met who she now identifies as Libya Nabby, and was going back to her car. So, and of course, Richard Allen says that he never saw the witness number 4 or Libya Nabby, yet he was on the first platform, which is almost an impossibility. For you guys out there describing your ladies as big bone, most of us don't take it as a compliment. No, now my grandmother was big boned, and I'm big boned, and so it's just a common Georgia term. Now I would never tell Mrs. Steve that she's big boned. No, that's not going to happen. Nope, you can't get me in that. Nope, not going to happen. Look at here. Here's LA. He's done jump back in here. We got to have another show with LA and Ruckus, get them all together again. Um, I look forward to it. Um, LA says Ruckus keeps following him. You're being stalked. I'm telling you now. He's got your, he's got you in his sights. Jennifer, all right. Good night, everyone. Thank you, Jennifer, for everything you do for this channel. Absolutely unbelievable. Appreciate it. All right. Looks like I got called up here, guys. Appreciate everybody being here. We have one more show. I'm going to be doing a little bit about Abercrombie, and and I've got a lot of packing to do. Got a lot of different things to do, and to make sure that Plan A, B, C, one of those plans works in Texas for us. And looking forward to it. And like I said, I was so happy when I spoke to them, and they had such a positive attitude about us coming out. And so I'm looking forward to meeting them and thanking them for allowing us access to their property. But y'all stay safe out there, and don't get in any trouble. And if you do, call Ruckus in LA. They'll come and get you. But anyway, guys, y'all stay safe. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see y'all in just a few hours. Night.